Recorded 2 o'clock. Hi, everybody. It's Nancy Reyes with Warrior Canine.
And Joanne Soike with For Better For Worse.
So this is a recorded session for this evening, only because we're, guess what, traveling. Surprising. But it's a topic that's near and dear to us and that we felt very strongly about doing it. So we might do it live for questions. And if you do have questions, go ahead and ask them in the chat, and then we can maybe go back and answer them or review them at another Facebook Live, right? So, so the topic is crate training. Many years ago, when I started training dogs, like 30 plus years ago, crate training wasn't a problem. Most people had their dogs crate trained. It was normal. It was just kind of the way it was, or the way it is. But over the last several years, I think the last about 10 years, that's changed a lot. Lots of dogs we're just seeing more and more dogs that are not crate trained or that are having problems in a crate. And I'm not sure why that is or what caused that shift, but there is a shift there. I don't know if it's maybe the, everybody wins mentality that we don't want to put the dogs in the crate. I'm not sure why that is. But there's a lot of really important reasons why crate training is important.
Yeah, and I'm curious about that too. Is it more so the people don't want to have to put their dogs in the box? You know what I mean? Like, is it more human related? Like, well, I don't want them to have to sit in there and wait. So, I think tonight we're going to talk about ways to keep them and why it is important to crate your dog, how it's beneficial to your dog.
Right. So our dogs, when we're at work, when we go to work, and I know with COVID, it's been very, very different. But when we go to work, our dogs usually sleep all the time. They sleep 12, when they're puppies, they sleep almost 20 hours a day, or between 15 and 20 hours. And when they're adults, it's 12 to 15 or 14 or something like that. Joanne knows the answer to that. So they sleep a lot. And I know with COVID, a lot of times they're probably maybe not sleeping as much. So people they're not using the crate because people are at home. And this is one thing that we were trying to get to our students, to make sure you still crate your dogs and make sure you still get them used to it, even if you're at home, because eventually this is hopefully, I know for some companies are starting to let their people stay at home for the duration, but still dogs should be comfortable being in a crate.
Yep. I remember I've been home since March of 2020, and people on online meetings and stuff, they would ask like, "Oh, I bet the dogs are super happy you're home," and I'm like, So it was a big thing for me. I don't want to change your routine. Yes, I'm here, but I'm sitting at a desk and I'm working. I'm not patting you. I'm not playing ball. I'm not playing tug, right? You guys, it's nap time. And so, throughout these last 2 years, really, it's been, I think the only difference is maybe when I get up to make lunch, right? I might let them out at lunchtime. But that's really the only change. I mean, they're expected to kind of chill out and just have their naps during the day. And then same as ever, when I'm done, we get up and we go do stuff. So.
Yeah. Well, and my dogs do go to work with me every day. But they're in my office, and guess what? They sleep all day as well, for the most part. And sometimes they have to be crated, except for the hungry shepherd. Yeah, she's up during meal times. So they're not crated as much as they used to, but when they were puppies, because I have 2 young dogs, they were crated while I was working, because even though they're at work with me, I still have to work. I'm teaching classes or whatever, so they had to be okay in a crate. And I did take advantage of, because of what I do for a living, I do get a chance they could be with me in a crate by me, and be used to being around and still being crated and being comfortable with people and dogs being around. So crate training is really important for many reasons, which we will talk about right now. One of the benefits is it gives them a chance to take a break, decompress, rest a little bit. It's their safe place to be if they don't want to be bothered. So that's just a really simple reason for crate training. And other ones, Joanne?
Yeah, I mean, you guys hear me talk about the Doberman a lot, right? But he's definitely your temper tantrum dog, right? He will bark and throw a little hissy fit sometimes when he gets overtired. Um, so much so, sometimes I just have to put him in a crate. Like, you need to calm down, and you come back 2 minutes later, he's on his back sleeping. So, um, similar to that little kid that's kicking and screaming, and I don't want to go to sleep. He'll do that. So it's a nice way to kind of like unplug for him, um to make him start to settle down. And I don't need it much anymore, but when he was younger, I did a lot. um the other thing, to talk about, especially during the day or in sports, they do need their rest, right? Just like us. um when you have a sleepless night, something's going on, you're not feeling well, you're worried about something, you're up and down, you don't get a good restful sleep, and it starts to affect you. It's the same thing with the dogs, right? They don't think as clearly, they can be crabby. If you're in a multi-dog household, that's when sometimes they can get snarky with the other dogs. So just making sure that they get that proper rest, and that when they go in there, okay, um, I always say the crate is my dog's space. So, even when I'm home, the crates are open. And two of them, that's where they go. They go and lay in there. The door's open. You can lay anywhere you want. I got lots of dog beds. Nope, they'll lay in their crates.
Yeah. And the big reason we use crate training is to potty train your dog.
Mm,
So that is the best tool for potty training your dog. So I use it because it goes so much faster when you do that, and it's so much more pleasant for all involved, the dog and the people. So crate training teaches them how to hold it because it's their home, right? It's a crate because we live in crates too, right? Our crates are called houses, but their crate is much smaller, so they can learn how to hold it. So they learn how to hold it and then go out. And as they age, they're able to hold it for longer periods. It goes so much faster. My shepherds like didn't have any accidents. I think they had one, and it was my fault, and not in the crate. It was because I was busy. I was on a phone call, and I said, "I'll be right there." And the dog's like, "Yep, no, you're not, because I'm a puppy and I can't hold it." Um, so the crate training went much quicker. Also, during their chewing, if they're chewing, that's also going to save your house. You're going to love them, and you won't want to kill them when they chew your best shoes or your remote control or things like that. And it also keep you from spending lots and lots of money at the vet trying to get stuff out of there. So that's also very helpful. But a lot of
yeah.
people, they don't do that. I can't tell you how many people, well, he's eating this. We had a dog came in, had 3 surgeries before he was 6 months old because of all the stuff he ate. So
Yeah.
that's, bad. So
And I mean, I'll tell you, this springtime, being home, I'm really not home enough to foster dogs anymore, but this spring, I was home, and it was a puppy class person. They got two puppies at the same time, not from the same litter, but they got two really young puppies at the same time. And they're a little wild, pretty high energy puppies. So they brought them both to class, and they said, "Oh, this one, the male is just a pill, right? I mean, he's just hard to handle." And so it got to the point they really just were struggling a lot with him. So I said I'd find him a home, got him into a rescue, but I fostered him. But when I took him, I was asking questions, right? Like, well, how often does he spend time in a crate? Oh, well, he doesn't. What? I mean, and he was like 15 weeks old. So he ended up potting all over the house, right? And the female did not, but he did. So the only time they were in crates was to sleep at night, and they were in there together. So we'll talk a little bit about that too. Um,
mm,
however, um, you know, they start to build bladder muscles because they have to hold it, right? So similar to us, if you don't work a muscle, it doesn't build itself up, right? It's still weak. So at 15 weeks old, he was pottying like an 8 week old puppy. I'd probably say like a 6 week old puppy. I mean, he would be playing. He just, oh, I gotta go. I can't hold it. It wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna sniff around. It was literally, he didn't have muscle tone there because he had never had to. So I used a smaller crate, right, so that he didn't have a lot of space to kind of go and potty on one side. Um, and the progression was really quick with the potty training. Once you sort of block the ability to go wherever you want to. It's not natural for dogs to soil where they sleep.
Right.
Right.
Unless you have like a puppy mill dog or something like that, that might have gotten used to that. But by and large, dogs usually don't like to go where they sleep.
Right.
So that's going to help that part of it. The other thing is you never know when your dog has to go to the vet or the groomer if you have a dog that requires a lot of grooming. So you want to make sure they're comfortable in those situations. So you're not adding stress. If they're at the vet, they're already stressed about being at the vet, and then you're going to add more stress by having them have to be in a crate. So if they're comfortable in a crate, then it's usually not a problem. And for those of you who do dog sports, the crate training is it's requirement because you have to. Doesn't matter if you do agility, obedience, whatever sport you do, the dog needs to be in a crate to wait their turn instead of just running around and not resting. And at a dog show, they can't, they shouldn't be out and about because they're not resting. And nose work, it's kind of a bigger deal because it's a lot of mental work, and they get really mentally exhausted. And so sometimes, especially in nose work, it's a whole day long event. So some dogs, if they're not used to sitting in a crate and they're stressed about being in a crate, their searching suffers because they're stressed from that and they're just tire themselves out from not being able to rest in their crate. So having a dog with the ability to do that is great. The other thing is you can take them wherever you want. You're able to take them places. You can take them to your relative's house if you need to, and they can be in a crate there if they need to be for a second. So there's a lot of great benefit to that, right? So and we do a lot of nose work, barn hunt, and all that, and we get a lot of dogs that are not crate trained because that causes some anxiety. And in some cases, there might be a legit reason for that stress, but mostly it's because we feel bad. We make a big deal when they're in there. It's okay. It's all right. And you start to the dog's like, oh my god, it's got to be a problem because she's worried about it too. So 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 we tend to add on that where maybe, and it's not a jail eventually, because eventually your house will be the crate. You won't need it to, the dog doesn't need to be crate trained forever, a crate in a crate forever. But it's like I have a 13 and a half year old. When she wants to take a nap, if there's a crate available or open, that's where she'll go, in a crate. It's 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 where she can rest. She can go with me. She has a more enriched life because she can go with me more places because she can go in a crate and rest and just chill out. This weekend, I'm COing at a trail where somebody has a dog. He can be in a crate. He's chilled. He's happy. He gets to go with her and hang out and be with her instead of having to be left at home with a sitter or whatever. So it's one of those things that you're able to do so much more when your dogs have that skill.
Yeah, and this might seem a little weird, but I did just want to bring it up, okay? Um, what's in your dog's crate? Okay? And
Oh yeah,
so, I think we as humans are like, well, I have to get them a nice cushy bed. I really want them to be comfortable. They need a blankie, right? And it's fine. I do that too, right? I got nice big cushy dog beds in there. However, if you have a puppy that's struggling, okay, and is pottying in their crate, and let's say you got a nice blanket in there and they pee on the blanket, and then you notice they sort of like shift it over to the other side, okay, that's actually collecting everything, so they're not really bothered by that. So that's a situation where you might want to take something out of their crate, okay, where it just is the pan. Um, Another thing is if you have a dog who's going to be tearing things
eating.
up, right? If they're eating stuffing or shredding things, um, that's another place where maybe you don't want to have something in there, or you can explore different options. Maybe they didn't like that bed. And the other one that I think sometimes we forget, I was talking to somebody 2 weeks ago at the Nosework trial, and her dog had kind of like a slipped disc issue, so he struggles a little with some back end stuff. And so she said she thought she was doing really great. She got this nice orthopedic dog bed, okay, and so it kind of covered his crate. Well, he really didn't like it. He kept trying to push it out of the way. And so I said to her, well, think about it, right? If you have a little bit of instability somewhere, your knee hurts, your hip hurts, what are you really looking for to try and stand up, right? That hard surface or something to hold on to, which dogs aren't going to hold on, right? So it'd be sort of like trying to, stand up on a waterbed. You don't really have that security. And when you're trying to protect an area that might hurt or right, they really want that hard piece to stand up on. So said, in that case where it's an older dog, maybe you get a bigger crate, you put the nice cushy bed on 3/4 of it, and then he can just kind of get to the end of it and stand up. Um, just as a little bit of helpfulness there.
Yeah, or you can just use a flat, like a piece of carpet or a rug or bath mat or something on the to help with them to be able to get in and out of there. So okay, so those are kind of the basic things, and it's so I know there's a lot. Again, not sure why it's a big deal that dogs shouldn't be crated, but it's really really helpful, especially if you're doing dog sports. But also just as a general rule, to give your dogs that comfort of being in a crate um, when they when they go to the vet and when they and just have that place of their own to have some peace and quiet. And if you have children, it's even more important to have a place where the dog can be where the kids can't go, and give them that that downtime if they choose to. And even if, and again, crate training is a very temporary thing. They don't have to be in a crate forever, but it just getting them comfortable in it and giving them that experience at an early age is really important. And I am the master of training dogs because I did a lot of fostering, and I had 7 rescues of my own that never were crated, and they all towards their whole life were fine in a crate after a while. And I mean, again, they weren't crated forever, but when I first got them, crate training was the first thing we did, and they all did just fine, and just took a lot of patience and consistency is really the key. One of them didn't like it as much. Little Lucy, the min pin, took me the longest for her to be, because at the end of the day, I want the dog to be happy in it, not just throwing him in there for the hell of it. I want the dog to be happy to go in the crate. So it took her a little longer to be happy in there, but she did get there. So
yeah, so that's a good another tidbit of information, right? Because I get this question from beginning obedience people all the time. Well, I never want to yell at them and put them in the crate. I never want the crate to be a bad place, right? So I don't want a correction and then put them in the crate. That's true. Okay? That's true. But what the crate can be is like, I love you very much, but I am done with you right now and mommy needs a break. So you need to go and hang out in your crate, okay? Have a bully stick, have a bone or something, and you just need to chill out and give me a minute, okay? So sometimes I might gently take a collar and be like, come on, we're gonna go over here, right? You need to go in your kennel for a little bit and just hang out. What you don't want to do, right? That's a bad dog, you're naughty, blah, 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 and then you throw them in the crate and shut the door, right? That's the piece that you're gonna try to avoid when we talk about associating the crate with negative things, okay? So some people say, use it as a timeout. It's fine, but how they get there is really what's the impact for them.
Yes, because I have used a crate as a timeout, but I'm usually not upset. It's just,
Mommy
just
loves
need to
you
go
and
and
she wants to continue to love you, so you need to sit in here for a minute.
yeah, for a minute, right? Especially yes. So very, very important part of it. Okay, so we're gonna go over some video about like just some basic ideas on how to train. Susan Garrett has a wonderful videos on crate training your dog. Granted, she does it mostly for agility, but a lot of her technique is wonderful and I really like it. And I've used it over the years because she's been doing crate training and using a crate for agility for a long, long time. So some of her information is valuable. So if you ever think she has videos or workshops or
She does.
webinars, I believe.
It's a
Um,
it's a DVD called Crate Games.
mhm. And some of those are really fun for the dog. And so, and again, hers is geared to a lot of agility, but there's a lot that can be applied to other sports as well as just at home, right? So we'll kind of narrate. I'm gonna share my screen. Hold on one second. And we're going to, actually, I have a client puppy that she is allowing us to use that video. And Joanne, I cannot find the video of the BAM one uh, that I saw yesterday. I can't find it in the folder. So where you're getting them in and out, throwing the treats and getting them back, and that I'm not seeing it. Hold on.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Because
Okay.
we're gonna go over like showing you how to get them started, but Joanne had a really good one for just getting started.
It
Even
wasn't BAM, it was Derby. So it's the second Derby one.
okay, second Derby one, but it's you.
Yes, it is me.
No, it's not you.
No, the one that I'm talking about is me.
Yes, I got that. So I'm trying to find it. There you go. There it is. Okay. So, all right. So I'm going to share this video. This is just to introduce your dog to just getting comfortable going in and out of the crate. This doesn't mean you're going to put them in there. It doesn't mean you're going to toss it, right? Or you're going to do all kinds of stuff. This is just a very bare bones beginning. This is how we get started training, just real basic. Okay, so this is Joanne working with a client dog. So she throws a treat in, throws a treat out. And this is just to get the dog comfortable going in the crate. You're not going to use throwing treats in the crate all the time, because then this is just to get him comfortable when you introduce the crate just the first time. It's a really nice little exercise. She tosses it in, it's very reinforcing for the dog. And also if the dog stops going in the crate or doesn't want to go in the crate, then you have information, right? And you may have to go back a couple steps, right?
Right, and it's hard to notice, but if you saw in the very, very beginning, my very first treats are right around the edge of the crate. And as he
Mm-hmm.
shows that he's comfortable, I'm going to toss them deeper into the crate, right? So if you
Yep, you
have a
see?
dog that has an issue, maybe who's a little nervous about the crate, if you throw it way back in there, they may not be willing to go all the way in. But, if they can put their head in and eat a cookie from the tray, that's perfect, right? And then you can move on from there.
Yeah, because some dogs may not want to go all the way in there.
Hmm.
All right. So that's kind of like basic beginning. This is how you get started. This is what it looks like, right? The next step is the one the dog is already pretty comfortable in the crate. This puppy was, and she goes in on her own, and I pay her in there. So you see where Joanne was tossing the treat in the crate and then having them come out. And on this one, the doggy's going inside, and then I reach in and pay. So you're not luring all the time. Because if you lure all the time, it becomes a different problem. Because if the dog's like doesn't see a cookie, yeah. So you see the dog, and this is where it's important. The dog makes the choice to go into the crate, not you. You're not pushing him. That's why when you throw the treat in the crate, you're luring the dog. The dog isn't choosing to go in the crate. You're making the decision for the dog. So it's important that they choose to go in, like this little puppy here, right? She's like, okay. And I'm going to tell you, this little puppy is having a little trouble with crate in that she barks sometimes. She's getting better, but we're working on it with the crates. So she's able to come out of that. And so I had her mommy also go in and do it. And so we're going to start that. I'll show you that here momentarily. just a whole, so here's her mommy working with her. So very happily just bouncing in that crate. And so one of the things you want to do is, temporarily close it and then open it up right away. And then put a stop, like only invite them to come out when you ask them, they shouldn't be charging out of that crate. They should have a sit or stay, and we'll show you some video on that. So I'm directing the mom, trying not to use she's using her body to move, and the dog is coming out of the crate off her body language, not her verbal cue. So it's something to work on. And she's a happy little girl. So so we're working on that still, on getting her to be more comfortable in the crate, because she's not a happy camper in there for sure. And so with the other thing you want to also work on is for them not to be charging out of the crate, because that's a problem, right? So you can teach them, if you choose, a sit or a down before they come up, before they're released. In this case, this dog is learning how to
Lay down.
how to lay down in the crate, right? And it's got a nice weight. So she stood, he was standing up, but he had a nice weight on that, in that one. I think there's another one where she was working on it laying down. Hold on a second.
One above it, yeah.
This one.
The second one down, second one. Nope, that's second.
Yeah, this is 1, 2, this one.
Oh,
Nope,
I see.
that's you.
I see.
Oh, wait, I know. Here, hold on. I labeled it. I just labeled it.
There you go.
Jeez.
Technical difficulties. Imagine that.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's not technical. It's me, my memory. So here we have where she's teaching him how to lie down before she opens the crate and releases them. So that's an option as well. So that was really nice. He laid down. One of the reasons you want them to learn how to do that is, depending on where you're at or what you're doing, you really want the dog to be calm when they're coming out of the crate instead of just darting out of the crate. So that's really an important little piece, the little tidbit that you want the dog to kind of get that, right? And ideally, you want the dogs to look like this. These are Joanne's dogs, happily resting in a oops, hold on. Let me share the screen. And nobody's distressed. Everybody's just relaxing, just chilling out. Nobody's worried. They're just resting in the crate. That is what that's the goal, right? So they should be comfortable. And this is them at Joanne's work, where there's a lot of dogs and a lot of noise and stuff like that. So that's what you should be striving for, right? And here, for barking in a crate, actually, let me see if I have, before we go into the barking in the crate, I wanted to do another sending exercise, where this is a part of the Susan Garrett piece, where you can send the dog. It's a like ready, where you can send the dog and make it a game for the dog. So that's what we're working on here, where they're just. So she was
She's
like,
so cute.
yeah, she's very cute. She's lucky. She's adorable. But so you got her a little too excited. And it didn't quite work. So I had to calm her down a little bit. So you have to kind of think about that, right? So you see what I mean?
No,
She's
let's
really
go in there.
right.
Yeah, let's go in some more. I want some cookies.
And that's part of the game for the dog, right? So you want to make the crate a great place to be and happy and fun. So this little girl has a little problem when she barks in the crate when mommy's not there. So Joanne did a lovely video of her little boy.
Guess who the Barker videos of?
I'll give you a guess. He's got pointy ears. Just saying. All right. So we're using the manners minder. Joanne can narrate this one.
Yes, so you can sort of see if you want to use your mouse. The manners minder is sitting on top of the crate. And I've removed the bottom tray, okay, so that it will just slide in. And I have the remote control, okay? So what you can do is the manners minders, those are like nowadays, they're like $125. But if you know somebody, a lot of times people will share them, okay? So you can be in the other room, and if the dog's pitching a fit, you can see Big Mouth here. So I'm waiting for a minute where, not a whole minute, right? But I'm waiting for a couple seconds where he shuts up. Okay, where he stops barking. And so basically I will hit the button and that will trigger something to fall. Okay. And so you can see, just like that little field spaniel did, he's starting to anticipate the cookie. So you just saw in this last one where he's like, I'm not gonna bark, and he kind of looks up. Is it gonna fall? And so I push the button and I give him the reward. He thought about it. Nope, there's some barking. Quiet. There you go. So what you're trying to do here is get your timing right, okay? Where they stop their barking and then they get a reward. Now you see he's engaging with it. He's like, make it go. I'm not barking, and I get what's happening. Looks up again. Oh, he's too smart for his own good sometimes. But
yeah, he is.
The puppy that I told you about that I fostered as well, right? He was a terrible barker because he hadn't been crated. And so yeah, I did take him to the facility with me, and I mean, he would bark for 2 hours. So I got out the manners minder, and I could be in the other room teaching, and when I heard that he would be quiet, I would push the remote control, and then food would fall for him. Okay, so it really, really helped get him much more comfortable. It makes the crate more of an anticipatory thing, right? Like, oh, make that food come. Oh, I'm gonna try and be quiet really hard so the food will fall. And they start to understand that happens. And then pretty soon you will increase the duration of the food falling, right? So if I'm doing it 3 seconds after he stops barking, I'm gonna work towards 5 seconds. I'm gonna work towards 10 seconds. Pretty soon, right? It's just sort of intermittent reward for being quiet, and then it just fades over time. Okay, so we don't want to continue to drop food forever. What I want is like 2 minutes of quiet. Pretty much when you get to that point, right, the dog should be able to kind of handle it.
Yeah. And eventually you want to be able to build on these particular skills, but you want to make the crate a fun place to be. The other thing is that's where fun things happen. You get a frozen Kong, a bully stick. Be careful giving them too many toys in the crate though, because if they have too much downtime, they can chew them. So you got to be real careful with that, making sure that you just give them Kongs is the only thing, and they should be, the Kongs is the only thing that's maybe unsupervised, but everything else it has to be supervised to make sure that they don't choke on anything or chew something up. That's why bedding in the beginning there is no bedding, just no bedding, so that they learn how to they potty train, and then only certain toys that are going to be good for them are the ones that we use for that. So we're going to leave you with this, right? This your dog should be. This dog used to be a pretty heavy, barky, and if people were near. And right now, this was her in a class setting. There were dogs across the way from her, and she's lying there very happy and resting and relaxed. And Barbie used to bark when people came near, and she used to bark when other dogs came near as well. So with a little persistence and patience, you can totally do anything, right? And get them to be calm and happy and comfortable in their crates. So again, we're big on crate training, and we want, and something to consider and research it, right? Look at what the benefits are. There's a both sides have good reasons, but we find, just as a general rule, teaching them crate training is not going to harm anything, right? It's going to enhance, right? That's what you want. So I think it's one of those things that you really want to look at it, and for your lifestyle, how that's going to work.
Yep. And I mean, it's a life skill, right? Even if you choose not to use one yourself, okay? Let's just say I don't need to, I'm retired, I'm home, my dog goes everywhere with me. Great, okay? But the likelihood that at least once in your dog's life, they're going to need to spend a little bit of time at the vet, right? Maybe you have to go home, they have a surgery, they, needed some tests run, and they're not going to be able to stay with you, right? They're going in a crate. They're going in one of those crated spaces in the vet. So, it's like Nancy said earlier, that can be very, very stressful if they're not used to it. So, even if you don't use it on a daily basis or a weekly basis, right? Teach them how to settle in a crate and be comfortable with it, so that, should something arise and they have to go in it, they're already okay.
Right. All right. Well, we'll see you guys live next week. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Again, if you have questions, feel free to shoot us an email. At the end of this video, we'll have our email addresses just to remind you. If you have a question, or shoot us a message on our Facebook pages, and we'll be happy to answer any and all questions you have.
Yep, and I hope to be home by the time this will air. So, unfortunately, when it's pre-recorded, I can't go like we normally do, but I can monitor those pages. So if you have questions while you're watching it, feel free to ask, and I'll do my best to monitor that. Nancy will be on a plane, so that's frowned upon. So,
All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
night, everybody. Thanks a bunch.